We think of Julius Caesar as this figure from ancient history, right? A statue in a museum. But tonight, we're going to look at the story of his final days. A story about a man, the most powerful man in Rome, who was literally walking toward his own death, step by step. And the crazy part is, he was warned.
It all started with just a few words, supposedly whispered on a crowded street by some soothsayer. 4 simple words that, honestly, would end up echoing through all of history.
And this is what makes this a real tragedy. It wasn't just one vague sign that he could have easily missed. Oh no, it was like this constant drumbeat of warnings, and every single one got a little louder, all pointing to one single terrible day, March 15th.
So that first warning, it didn't come from a general or a senator. It came from the world of prophecies and visions. Now, for a guy like Caesar, a man of action, of logic, who commanded entire armies, this public prediction must have sounded like absolute madness.
So what did he do? He laughed. You got to put yourself in his shoes for a second. He's at the absolute pinnacle of his power. He's basically untouchable. The idea that some random guy on the street could predict his doom? Come on. It was absurd. It was a joke. So he just brushed it off and kept going.
But then the warning followed him home. It moved from the public street right into his private life. And suddenly it became emotional, intimate, and a whole lot harder to just laugh off. This wasn't some stranger's prophecy anymore. It was a desperate plea from the one person he was closest to.
His wife, Calpurnia, she wakes up in a complete panic. And her dream wasn't fuzzy or vague. No, it was a full-blown premonition with specific, horrifying details. She saw his body, she saw the blood, and she saw the exact location of his death, inside the Senate. She begged him, she pleaded with him, please, don't go.
And this time, he didn't laugh. This warning, this one hit him. For just a moment, the all-powerful Julius Caesar wasn't a ruler. He was just a husband, listening to his terrified wife. And he actually hesitated. He really thought about staying home.
But here's the thing. While this incredibly personal drama is playing out in his house, another story is reaching its own climax. A secret one, happening in the shadows, led by men Caesar thought he could trust. And this is where the whole thing pivots, from a fight against fate to a battle for Caesar's own mind.
See, a group of senators, people he worked with every day, some he even considered friends, they had decided he'd become too powerful. His ambition was a threat to Rome itself. They were convinced he was going to dissolve the republic and make himself king. So they made a pact to do the unthinkable.
And this right here, this is the critical moment. Caesar is literally standing at a crossroads. On one side, you've got his wife, Calpurnia, pleading with him out of love. On the other side, you've got one of the conspirators, a guy named Decimus, who shows up and just expertly plays on Caesar's biggest weakness, his pride. Decimus doesn't threaten him. He just makes fun of him. He says that staying home isn't safe. It's cowardly, that he'll be a laughingstock.
And that's all it took. That was it. The fear of looking weak was stronger than the fear of death. The appeal to his massive ego just completely drowned out the plea from his heart. He made his choice. He was going to the Senate. So as Caesar is walking towards the Senate, the exact place Calpurnia saw in her dream, fate gives him one last chance. Just one final, chilling opportunity to turn around. He sees the same soothsayer from before. And with all the arrogance of a man who thinks he's just cheated destiny, Caesar basically taunts him. He says, "The Ides of March have come," as in, "See, I'm fine. Your little prophecy was a whole lot of nothing."
And the prophet's reply is, without a doubt, one of the most chilling lines in all of history. Yes, but they have not passed. The day wasn't over. The clock was still ticking.
So he goes inside the Senate. The trap was set. And what happened next was brutal, it was fast, but the physical violence, that's only half the story. The real tragedy, the blow that truly killed Caesar, wasn't a physical wound at all.
They all just closed in around him, pretending they had a petition for him to look at. And then the first knife came out, then a second, then a third. It was chaos. The very men who governed alongside him suddenly became his assassins.
And Caesar, he was a great general. He fought back. He actually resisted. But then, through the crowd of his attackers, he saw a face he knew, a man he trusted, a man he had mentored and loved like a son, Brutus.
And this is the honest truth of his last moments. When he saw Brutus was one of his killers, he just stopped fighting.
He covered his face and he accepted what was happening. The daggers, they could kill his body, sure, but it was that betrayal that absolutely destroyed his spirit.
He was stabbed 23 times.
And just like that, the most powerful man in Rome was dead. But his story leaves all of us with this incredibly deep and kind of unsettling question that goes way beyond just ancient history.
Why? I mean, with so many signs, a prophet, a nightmare from his own wife, his own hesitation, why did he still walk into that room?
Was it just pure arrogance? Did he just believe he was too big to fail? Or maybe was he just a pawn of fate, and his death was written in the stars no matter what he did? Or is the answer something deeper, about all of us, about human nature itself, about how we tend to ignore the warnings we just don't want to hear?
Pride versus destiny? I mean, that's the central mystery of his downfall, isn't it? And maybe it's a question that doesn't have one simple answer. And that's what forces us to kind of turn the mirror on ourselves. Because Caesar's story is this timeless, powerful reminder that sometimes the biggest danger isn't the threat you can't see coming. It's the warning you refuse to listen to. So it makes you wonder, what warning are you choosing to ignore?